Welcome back. In this video, we're going to focus on supporting educator well-being, and we'll go through 3 key practices that can help. So this can look like creating safe spaces for educators and support staff, school leaders, to be honest and sharing how everyone is really doing. And one way to do that is through the structure of community circles. So this could be once a week, once a month, but just having an intentional space that's dedicated to checking in and truly having conversation about how everyone is doing in a way that feels safe and honoring of the experience. Another way to support well-being among educators is to build in regular check-ins at staff meetings, maybe taking a few minutes to check in with each other before diving into the items on the agenda. It's always helpful to communicate with ourselves and each other with a level of respect and compassion and care, because the work is hard and everyone is in it. And so as we treat each other with that level of kindness and compassion and treat ourselves that way as well, that supports well-being. Also, importantly, is from the leadership perspective, is to continuously acknowledge all that teachers and support staff are holding and doing. And so, for example, in staff meetings, having intentional transitions before diving into the business of the day can be really helpful. Something as simple as playing music or watching an uplifting video, having Play-Doh or some sensory materials to play with. Snacks are always a great way to just kind of communicate a care for the staff while waiting for the meeting to get started. Also, having simple connecting prompts that teachers can share with each other before jumping into the agenda for the meeting. That can be very helpful in just connecting, finding ways to connect. Another key practice is gratitude and appreciation. So this is a powerful practice. There is a strong body of research that demonstrates the benefits of practicing gratitude on a range of domains. So there's physical well-being, psychological well-being, and relational well-being benefits from the practice of gratitude. And there's so many ways to practice gratitude. One way is just to infuse it into the school environment. So embedding it into the culture in whatever ways feel fun and innovative and creative. Here are a few ways that we can integrate gratitude and appreciation into the school community. We can take a few minutes before starting a staff meeting for school leaders to share their sincere gratitude and appreciation for their staff. And it's helpful for the acknowledgments to be specific and heartfelt. Teachers can also be invited to share with each other 3 things that they're grateful for before diving into the meeting. This shifts our attention away from the stresses of the day and moves us into acknowledging the wonderful things that we can appreciate. Another way to cultivate a culture of gratitude and appreciation in the school community is to be intentional about the time in a staff meeting, for example, taking a few minutes, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, for teachers to form into small groups and just pause from the day and take a moment to acknowledge themselves. Something that they appreciate about their day, about a success they had in the day or in the week, identifying strengths within themselves, and also reflecting strengths within their colleagues. So this really strengthens connections and is a very powerful practice to build relational well-being. A third practice is embracing imperfection and mindful self-compassion. For me, this is one of the key well-being practices for educators, and I wish that I had learned about self-compassion 20 years ago when I first got started, because it would have made a world of difference in my own well-being and stress management abilities. So when we think about ways to support teacher well-being, there's so many benefits to just embracing the imperfection of us as human beings. It allows us to connect to our own humanity. It creates room for us to be more authentic. It models for children and students and our colleagues that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have flaws. It's okay to falter at times. We all do. And what's wonderful about this practice is it does provide opportunities for reflection and improvement. So it can inspire creative solutions and innovations. And it also just mirrors the nature of reality. There is a very strong research base on mindful self-compassion. The leading researchers are Krista Neff and Chris Germer. And this practice of self-compassion is profoundly supportive for our well-being. Most of us likely have an inner critic in our minds. It's that voice within that can be so hard on ourselves when we falter or we make mistakes or when we feel like we're not doing enough or it wasn't good enough. Practicing self-compassion is like strengthening the inner friend, the voice that can be there for us when we most need it. There are 3 components to the practice of mindful self-compassion. The first is awareness. So this is where we just become aware. We become aware that we're having a hard time, that something is really challenging. We have an experience and we can say, wow, that was hard. I'm having a really hard time with this. So we're just acknowledging that we're having a challenge, that something is happening that's challenging, that's hard. We're bringing awareness to an inner state of challenge, struggle. And so once we're aware that we're having a challenge and we can honor that by acknowledging it, then we can go to the next component, which is connecting to a sense of shared humanity. And so this is where, in some ways, we depersonalize the situation. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's not because there's something wrong with me or I can't handle it. It's because I'm managing a whole lot of things. And anyone in a situation like I'm in would likely be feeling overwhelmed too. And so we just connect the challenge to a sense of shared humanity. Anybody else in this similar situation would likely be feeling like I'm feeling. And so then the next component is, what do I need to do to take care of myself? How can I soothe myself? How can I send care and support to myself? And so that's the third component. But those 3 components are helpful. Number 1, I'm having a hard time acknowledging it. Number 2, I'm not alone. It's not just me. I'm not the only one who feels this way. And then number 3, okay, how do I send some care to myself? What do I need to do to support myself in this moment? And so I encourage you to practice self-compassion. It is a new practice for many of us. We haven't really been taught how to necessarily be kind to ourselves. As educators, we are very giving. We are very compassionate to our students, our colleagues, our friends, our families, even strangers that we don't know. So when we think about compassion, we can use a simple definition of compassion being an awareness of human suffering or suffering by any living being, and a desire to want to help alleviate it. If we hear or know that a family or member or a friend, a neighbor is having a hard time, we want to make it better, right? It's a natural human quality to be compassionate. And so when we're thinking about self-compassion, what we're doing is we're inviting ourselves into the circle of compassion so that we can give ourselves the same level of care and kindness, consideration, understanding, and support that we would give a dear friend. So the practice of mindful self-compassion can be profoundly supportive in navigating the stresses of these times. It's especially necessary for us to take good care of ourselves as educators so that we can then support students in their needs. So in the next video, we're going to be focusing on strategies for supporting students' social and emotional well-being. See you there.